Ladies and gentlemen, I got a text from a friend saying, you had Marvin Arrington on? That's what a Democrat would do. Well, this is called balance, my friends. Now on the phone with me is Fulton County Commissioner Bridget Thorne. How are you, Bridget Thorne? How are you, my sister?
I am good, Shelley. How are you?
I'm wonderful. So now tell me from your perspective, you're also a Fulton County Commissioner. This impacts Fulton County, the voters of Fulton County. What are your thoughts on yesterday's? It's not a raid. I was told by a listener we should call it an FBI investigation.
Correct. It's an FBI investigation. They presented evidence. There is evidence. People are saying this is just on a whim, but they had to present it to a judge to get a warrant, and they had to come in and get the evidence and seize the documents and papers and whatever they seized.
Do you know?
For me,
let me ask you this. Hold that thought. What was the evidence that was presented to the judge? Are you privy to that information?
they have not no, we have not been updated by our county attorney. I asked for an update today. We have not been updated yet. I imagine they're still kind of reeling from yesterday. But yeah, so anything we say is just kind of speculation.
Okay.
We have not been officially updated as commissioners.
Understood. Continue with your thought you were going to have before.
For me, I'm just, glad that they've come in. Let's just settle this once and for all. Let's just actually let somebody see the ballots. I mean, Secretary of State Raffensperger, he said we have the most secure elections because we've got the receipts. When you vote on those machines. They scan that QR code, but we have the actual physical ballots. But Fulton County has spent millions of dollars fighting anybody from ever seeing those actual ballots. So that's kind of led to the tension, and now hopefully we just can resolve it, and just be done with 2020. And I'm so ready to just get over 2020 and move on.
Let me ask you this: as a Fulton County Commissioner, are you afraid? I heard from Marvin Arrington Jr., your fellow commissioner on the Fulton County Commission. Are you afraid of voter information getting out? Is that a concern of yours?
There is nothing voter information that's not a public file. You can do an open records request, and you can get all the voter information that you need that they are going to have. They're just going to find out who voted on the ENET system, who was checked, and what names were checked off as voted, and they're going to compare them with the ballots that are actually cast. When I vote, I have a precinct number that I vote in, so they'll know all the voters in my precinct. Does that number match the number of voters that are marked off on the list? They aren't going to have access to Social Security numbers or anything like that.
So that's fear-mongering by the Democrats.
It definitely is, and they're doing fear-monger and make everybody scared. I heard one commissioner say, "Oh, you better go check and make sure you're not removed off the voter database." Nobody's removing voters from voter databases. They're just checking to see who voted in 2020. We know the ACLU and everybody had access to the ENET system during the 2020 election.
Can you explain that?
Let's see if it matches up.
Can you explain what you just said? Because this is the first time I'm hearing that the ACLU had access to the ENET system. First of all, what's the ENET system in a short version, and then tell me about the ACLU.
So the ENET system is electronic voter database that they used at the time. They now have the Jarvis system, but back in 2020, they had the ENET system. The ENET system, you marked off who voted. And if you had an absentee ballot, it would tell you this person has an absentee ballot, this person's turned it in. It would tell you if you did advanced early voting, or if you did in-person voting, or if you hadn't voted at all, or if you still had an absentee ballot and you hadn't. ACLU clerks in every single precinct in 2020. We had 255 precincts. Every precinct absentee ballot clerk had access to that system. So they knew who voted, how they voted, who hadn't voted. And let's say if you you said, "Hey, I had an absentee ballot, but I want to vote in person," they were able to clear off the fact that you had an absentee ballot.
Understood.
And let you go ahead and vote
right
on the machine.
So how did the ACLU get involved?
Fulton County asked them to get involved, and they trained them. They had private training for them to be in every precinct. There were some bottlenecks because so many people got absentee ballots because of COVID, because Secretary of State sent out absentee ballots to every voter. So a lot of people applied, but then they're like, oh, I'm just going to go vote live. So to clear an absentee ballot was quite cumbersome. You had to call, and then you'd have to wait probably 20 minutes to have them check downtown to see if you could clear them. So this was just a way of hopefully alleviating that process, but it made the process insecure because at least 255 ACLU clerks had access to that system.
Gotcha.
And my ACLU clerk had it on her personal laptop.
So that being said, what are we looking, before I let you go, we're on the phone with Fulton County Commissioner Bridget Thorne, good friend of the show, good friend of mine. Bridget, what are we looking for when the FBI took these boxes? What exactly are they looking for?
I mean, I think there's, I would only be speculating. There's just so many things that didn't match up. I know you hear, we had 3 counts. They all came up the same. But what you're not hearing is that all 3 counts, there was something wrong with all 3 counts. And Fulton County admits it. They admit that they failed to upload ballot images to verify the first count, the first machine count. They had 10 tabulators from early voting that were added into the count that there's no documentation to show that they were ever used in a precinct. On the second count, the hand count, they signed a consent decree. Oops, we double scanned 3,600 or so ballots.
So Bridget, after all of this, I think what you said, if of all the things I've heard from everybody, I think you said it clearly and the best, and articulated how many of us feel on the Republican side. Let's just get to the bottom of this and move on. Is that correct? Correct.
That is correct. I am just so ready to move on. I'm just either side. I mean, hey, if they come up and they say, hey, we looked at it and it's all good, then we can drop it and we can just move on.
My sister.
If there's something wrong, then we can correct it.
Right.
And then we'll move on.
My sister, Fulton County Commissioner Bridget Thorne, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you very much, and have a wonderful day, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shelley. You take care.
Bye-bye. We'll be right back. 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK, the only show that will give you balance. We'll be right back.